dawn of a new space age. Billionaire Richard Branson, now the first person to reach the edge of space in his very own spacecraft.
Oh my God.
I've done some ridiculous things in my lifetime. That was really, really ridiculous. I just can't wait for one day to be able to experience it. It's a complete experience for a lifetime.
Hello and welcome to The Nexus. That was the British billionaire Richard Branson finally achieving his lifelong dream of becoming an astronaut. And his grin, his cheesy grin, was extra wide this time because he'd managed to beat Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk to become the first person to reach space in his own spacecraft, the sleek and stylish Unity 22. But of course, Bezos thinks he can wipe that smile right off his face by flying higher and for longer in his ship, the Blue Origin's new Shepherd. Now, in a moment, we'll be asking who is winning the billionaire space race and who is the greatest of all-time entrepreneur, the GOAT. But first, this quick look at Richard Branson's historic flight.
Thank you to every single person who has believed in Virgin Galactic. We're here to make space more accessible. We want to turn the next generation of dreamers into the astronauts of tomorrow.
The team is airborne. Three, two, one. Release, release, release.
Fire.
So we are headed to space. And the passengers in the back have been cleared to unstrap.
Welcome to space.
To the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. Woo. Oh my God. Oh, this is unbelievable. This is too unbelievable.
Please return to your seats and strap in. Approaching re-entry. I've done some ridiculous things in my lifetime. That was really ridiculous.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sir Richard Branson, astronaut.
Okay, let's bring in our guests now. And on the left there, we have Per Wimmer, an entrepreneur, adventurer, and friend of Richard Branson's. He was the first European to sign up for the Virgin Galactic space program back in 2005, and he's hoping to finally make his flight early next year. Nicholas Schmidl is a writer for The New Yorker and author of Test Gods, the making of a modern astronaut. He spent 4 years learning about the ins and outs of Virgin Galactic and spent time with Richard Branson. And finally, we have success coach David Nagel, who will tell us what it takes to become like one of those guys, the billionaires. Well, welcome to all of you. Great to have you. Now, I understand, Per, you're driving from Milan to Copenhagen. You have a very busy life, and you've just pulled over to do this interview, so thank you for that. Per, I'd like to ask you, we've seen this report, these amazing pictures. That could be you, or you expect it will be you, early next year. Are you excited?
I'm super excited. This is fantastic. I'm so happy for Richard. I know how close space is to his heart and how much money and effort he's put into it. And same for us, the rest of us astronauts, future astronauts, because we were just waiting for astronaut number 001 to go up, Richard, and then therefore the runway is now cleared for us to step in and go and fly into space. So I'm super excited.
So he's 001.
Years in the making.
What's your number going to be, or do you not know yet?
We haven't been allocated exact numbers yet, but I'm a founding astronaut with the program, so I'll be one of the first ones to fly on Galactic.
And for that privilege, you paid quite a lot, yeah? 7-figure number? Sorry to bring up money, but it's true.
That's okay, yeah. No, I have spent a 7-figure dollar amount on my space activities. The ticket price currently is $250,000.
Oh, right. OK. Now, you've had to undergo quite a lot of training for this, I understand.
Yes, I've been in weightlessness training, zero-G flights, where you take a perfectly good aeroplane up to about 16 kilometers and you nosedive down for 30, 40 seconds at a time and therefore become weightless and you're flying around like a bird. Absolutely fantastic and incredible experience in its own right. Secondly, I've been flying fighter jets, MiG fighter jets in Russia at an altitude of 80,000 feet or 27 kilometers. At about 3 times the speed of sound, so quite fast. But that's what it takes if you want to stay up there so high where the air is thin. And then finally, I've been sitting in the centrifuge, both in Russia and in America, spinning around and completely simulating the effect on the body of a space trip. So good training.
Now, you know Richard Branson quite well, and you met his family, you spent a lot of time with them. Do you think he's particularly happy because he's managed to beat Bezos and Musk?
I'm sure he was happy to get in just in front. Absolutely, because Richard doesn't like to be number 2, and obviously understands the value of it. And given Jeff is launching on July 20th, I guess it was no coincidence. Richard launched perhaps a little bit earlier than expected. But it's all friendly in space. I mean, Elon was together with Richard just prior to departure, and it's all friendly.
That's
we
right.
all want to just have more space.
Elon Musk went there to support his friend and to see the launch. And is it the case that Elon will be going up in one of Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic spaceships at some point?
Yes, I believe so. Elon is obviously super fascinated by space, been developing SpaceX, and here's an opportunity to go up himself. And who knows, Richard might hitch a ride on Elon's rocket one day once it opens up for private space travel. So, it's all very friendly.
Elon Musk and Richard Branson are OK, but Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos, is there a bit of tension there? I ask that because even though Bezos sent his congratulations, Blue Origin, which he owns, it issued this statement. From the beginning, New Shepherd, which is their spacecraft, was designed to fly above the Kármán line. So none of our astronauts have an asterisk next to their name. For 96% of the world's population, space begins 100 kilometers up at the international recognized Kármán line. So what this company, which belongs to Bezos, is sort of saying is that actually Richard Branson didn't quite make it to space.
Yeah, well, if you look at Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic, they're probably more in the short term direct competitors, if you like, because they both have a suborbital proposition here, whereas SpaceX is going orbital straight away. I mean, they already taken NASA astronauts to the International Space Station. So you could argue that they are more direct competitors in a way. But they're still part of the bigger mission of opening up space, channeling more money into private space, and therefore allowing an opportunity for the rest of us to fly. And hopefully over time, the price will come down so even more people will get a chance to fly.
The price will have to come down. The price will have to come down quite a bit. What's the difference between orbital and suborbital? Because this is a very important and key difference.
It's altitude, basically. So there's been a debate in the space community where there's the Kármán line, which is at 100K, very artificial. There's no line up there, etc. When I was flying the MiG jets, it was at 27K, which is basically the highest you can fly with a normal jet. After that, you need a rocket to go past that. But I think it's increasingly common convention that once you're past sort of 80K, you're in space for all sense and purposes. You're weightless, you're floating around, etc. But yeah, there's still a little bit of debate in the community about that.
Nicholas, I'd like to come to you next. You've spent years as a fly on the wall, so to speak, journalist. Just tell us how you were sent down there originally, how you developed the relationship, and then you've brought out this book.
Right. So in 2014, Virgin Galactic had a really bad day, and they lost the spaceship, and one of the test pilots for the program, for the company that was building the spaceship, was killed. And I write for the New Yorker magazine, and I went to my editor and I said, we should write about this, what's going on out in the middle of the desert, right? I mean, it was kind of a record scratch moment, right? It was, wait a second, there's a private company owned by a British billionaire who lives on a private island in the Caribbean, and this private company is in the middle of the California desert flying winged rocket ships. It was like, wait a second, stop. And then someone was just killed in an accident. So I went out there and I went to the company and I said, you know, I'd like to be a fly on the wall. I'd like to embed with the company for an extended period of time. And that extended period of time, because as we saw from Sunday, Richard Branson and his operation is very PR savvy, right? So I wanted to be with them from the 4th powered flight, the one that crashed, until the 5th powered flight. I wanted to see them build another spaceship, resume the program, and get back in the air flying rocket flights. And that was supposed to be 1, maybe 2 years, and it turned into 4. And over that time period, I've made total now 15 trips to Mojave. Would just sit in on meetings, went flying with the pilots, did the centrifuge with them, went in the acrobatic airplane and did the whole thing. So I was mistaken for an employee on several occasions. I was inside the company and had a really granular and genuine look at kind of what the culture was like inside of it.
Well, what is the culture like? I mean, from the outside, it's all very wonderful, and he's this charismatic leader, and everyone follows, and there's so much success. What is it like, really?
Well, he's not very involved in the day-to-day. He is, in fact, the charismatic leader in the sense of like the spiritual leader. He's not involved in the day-to-day decisions at the company, except when it comes time maybe to should Richard fly, and what does that all mean, right? But he generally speaking is sort of at arm's length. And part of the reason is there's this quirk in U.S. law that actually prohibits U.S. nationals from sharing technology that could be used for dual purposes. You know, a rocket ship could also be a cruise missile. And so there's this crazy reality, which is that the engineers for Virgin Galactic are not able to share technical specifics, with Richard Branson, who is a foreign national. So that kind of, that's his relationship to the company. He comes in, he sets the tone, and then they kind of execute the decisions. But, what is amazing, this is a company, Richard Branson doesn't traditionally build things. He's excellent at branding. He comes in, he improves the customer experience, whether it's airplanes or trains or hotels or wedding dresses or condoms, et cetera, et cetera. This is what he's done. This is what Virgin has done over the years. Suddenly, after this crash, he's thrust into building something, and not just something, but spaceships. And so watching this company, which was a company of novices trying to sort of figure out how to make their way, was fascinating. And look, and I'll spare you all the details. It's all in the book, which is, I follow the story mainly from the perspective of their lead test pilot, who had flown the first 3 rocket-powered flights, did not fly the 5th or the 4th, in which his best friend was killed, and then was trying to pursue this lifelong dream, and went and flew several more, and then eventually went to space in December of 2018. So, this was a huge day on Sunday for them. And yet you see the reality of what Richard means to the company. I just saw this morning, there was a video that Virgin Galactic put out on Sunday or Monday that showed Richard Branson pedaling his bike to the spaceport. And everyone's like, oh, wow, that's pretty zany and cool. And now we find out that actually it didn't happen. He pedaled his bike to the spaceport like 4 days earlier, and then they pretended that he pedaled his bike to the spaceport.
That's the thing. That's the thing, Nicholas. I mean, how Branson is an entrepreneur. He has to make money. That's the whole thing. How much of this is just about image and projection, and how much of it is an actual commercial money-making operation? Yeah,
great question. I mean, and I think that there are actually 3 aspects. There's the commercial operation. I mean, there's the viability of the business, and then there's the flight test program. And the flight test program was always what fascinated me, watching these guys try to hand build this rocket ship and put this rocket ship to the edge of space. That was that was ingenuity and courage and sort of against all odds. The viability of the business is a separate thing altogether, and that obviously you need to gin up attention and hype, et cetera, to keep the money flowing in. For Virgin Galactic to make a business of this, they're going to have to do what NASA and all other human spaceflight providers before them have not been able to do, which is to bring the fatality rate for human spaceflight below 3%. Because if 1 out of every 30 passengers who goes up on Virgin Galactic spaceship doesn't come back down, they're going to have a tough time making a viable business and working through the 600 people on that passenger list. Or I think there are 100 people that are the founders, right? So at 4 seats a pop, you've got it's a lottery, I guess. So like if you're the last of the founders in the lottery, 24 flights have to go through successfully before you get your seat. And those all have to go swimmingly well. And I think that's always been the challenge for them. It's that this was not just a prototype program, but this was going to try and make a business out of it. And that's where they are at now. And that's going to be the true challenge. Can they do this regularly and routinely and safely over the course of the next coming months and years?
Yeah, Per, can you pick up on that question?
Yeah, sure. I mean, safety is paramount for Virgin Galactic, has always been. But space is difficult. You got to take real risk, invest real money. I mean, I think about $1 billion has been invested to date. A lot of that has gone into safety and testing. And also you need to get external validations through the FAA, the American regulator. So a lot goes into it. And certainly in terms of the culture within, as we have experienced it as future astronauts, huge emphasis on it. I cannot tell you how many times it's been shown and tested again, and how seriously they take it. Because not only is it important for us, obviously we'd like to come back down alive. We don't want to hit anybody on planet Earth, which is what the FAA cares most about. And finally, as a business, you can't have too many accidents. It's a problem. But space is tricky, is risky, and I'm aware of it. I'm not blind to it, but I'm also super excited about going into space. And I know some of the engineers as well, and I have full confidence in their abilities to pull it off. And fortunately for Richard, he came back safe. So let's hope the rest of us do the same.
Nicholas, we posed at the beginning of the program, who's winning the billionaire space race? It's gone from, 50 years ago from the United States versus Russia to now these sort of a privatized version of it with these 3 billionaires. Well, who is winning it? I mean, they have different versions of the space race. They have different visions of space. But who would you say is actually the biggest man in space now amongst those 3?
Elon Musk, by a long shot. I mean, SpaceX is a business. They've put 100 rockets into orbit. They have massive U.S. government contracts, and they're showing that they can do this safely and repeatably. Now, most of those rockets have not been crewed. I mean, only the last 2, maybe 3 have been crewed. So it is also easier to take chances when there aren't people on the rocket, right? And so, but Elon has won that race. Now, the suborbital race, which is the suborbital tourism race, which is sort of Branson against Jeff Bezos. Branson has won. He's the first person to put an astronaut into space. He's the first person to put himself into space. That now the question, though, is going from, again, the proof of concept into the business. And the only way to sort of say who's won is in 2 years' time, who's flown, in two years from now, if Branson has flown 6 times or Virgin Galactic has flown 6 times and Bezos has flown 25 times, then we'll look back and say, okay, so Branson might have put himself there first, but Blue Origin has won because they have a real business. And I think that just remains to be seen.
Now, David Nagel, the other question we posed at the beginning of the program is, who is the greatest entrepreneur of all time? We know who's the richest. Well, it kind of ping-pongs between Musk and Bezos. But you have to look at Richard Branson's career over the last, 40, 50 years. He was the original kind of cool entrepreneur, wasn't he?
Yeah, he absolutely was. I mean, hundreds of companies. The guy is a visionary. And it's one of the most amazing things, really, I think, about the human nature. If you think about the conversation that we're having today, just a short time ago, we were inventing a telephone. And now we're having this debate about who is leading the space race and can we actually do this safely enough to create a business. But hands down, I mean, all the things that Branson has done, he is so versatile in his ability. But I think there's something that's really important. We're saying that he's not in the day-to-day operation, but actually he is, because it's his vision that everybody's bought into, that's working for him, that's devoted to this project, that really wants to see it succeed. And of course, the real winners is mankind. We all win because these people are so courageous and they're such visionaries, and they're dedicated to doing things that nobody has ever seen done before.
What sets apart these sorts of people, men and women, from the 99.99% of people who don't realize their dreams?
So I have been studying success for about 30 years now, and all the successful people throughout history. And there's one thing that comes down that is just inevitable. For whatever the reason is, and this has been debated in psychiatry forever, people that are extremely successful believe in the vision that they have in their mind more than they don't believe it. And we're still not sure why that is. We do know that a person can believe something based on choosing to believe something, and they can cultivate that belief, and they can create whatever image that we hold in our mind. We know that that's absolutely possible. But when you see somebody that just comes from a regular childhood, and they develop into something that is miraculous as we see them either in the entrepreneurial world, or whether they're inventors or they're leading the space race, the question is where did this idea come from that nobody else had ever seen? Not only nobody else had ever seen, but it's never been done. And they were able to hold on to that vision and actually see it through fruition, regardless of everybody that told them that it couldn't be done, or even in some cases, science telling them that it couldn't be done. And they just stuck with it until they mastered every technical piece that needed to be done in order to pull it off.
David, it says here that you yourself went from a mundane job as a dock worker to a multi-millionaire kind of coach, lifestyle coach, business coach, motivator. What was the transformation point for you?
Desperation. I was a high school dropout. I was kind of raised myself on the streets of Chicago. I started working on a dock. I got married very young and had 2 children and could not live up to my responsibilities. And I said, there has to be another way. And instead of listening to everybody that told me the answer was just to continue to work more overtime, I started to try to think outside of the box and think what I could do. And I started making massive leaps in my success. And before I knew it, I was running a company. I became an author. I was a speaker worldwide. And I just kept pushing the vision. But I have to give credit to the people that I studied, like Branson. Like, I've read all of his books. I've met him a couple of times. These are extraordinary individuals that give hope and inspiration to people worldwide.
Per, you've told me in a previous conversation, and you made me rather jealous, that you are living the dream every day. What kind of adventures are you getting up to? And then, as a second part of that question, what are your 7 rules for life so that other people can achieve their dreams?
Sure. I've traveled to 84 countries on Earth. I've been living with the Indians in the Amazon jungle. I've skied at 5,500 meters, the highest skiing station in the world. Been diving with sharks in Fiji. And in 2008, I conducted the world's first tandem skydive about Mount Everest. A truly thrilling and very exciting and a bit nerve-wracking experience, I have to say, because there was no manual we could follow there. And obviously, my next step is space, and then I've got a few other future adventures after that. So I really try to live out my life to the max. I'm also a finance guy. I've got 3 finance companies in London, and I've also got some real estate interest. But bottom line is, if one were to succeed or sort of digest what is really the key DNA, well, here's my proposition to people. Number 1, think out of the box. Be open for the crazy idea, because you never know when you come across it. Number 2, whatever you do, always follow your heart, follow your passion, be authentic, and just have fun doing it. Because you will see whatever it is, it will translate into something exciting. Number 3, focus and execute. Execute, execute, execute. That is what makes the big difference. Lots of people who have got similar wealth to me could go into space. The difference is I'm doing it because I don't give up. I really pursue the dream. 21 years later, and now I'm on the cusp of going into space. Number 4, time discipline. Manage your time. That's a ever-depleting resource we have. Money can come and go, but time always goes. So make sure you're conscious about how you use your time. Teamwork, number 5, 1 + 1 + 1 = 5, because there's synergies created in teamworks. Number 6, risk reward. Always assess what is the maximum risk you take on board. Going to space can, in principle, cost you your life, but is it worth it? What's the upside? And for me, going to space is the most thrilling thing ever. And number 7, whatever you do, always inspire others, always give back. We team up within Women's Space with lots of charities around the world. And I try to inspire kids and youngsters to be excited about space and science. And above all, I encourage them to live out their dreams to the full, just like I do, because I think with that, you have the recipe for a happy life, to be honest. You can see that on my smile.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Per, those are great 7 rules for life, much fewer than Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life, I've noticed. David, before we go, do you agree with all that? And is there anything you would add from yourself?
I absolutely agree with everything that he said. And the one thing that I would add is do the thing that makes you the happiest, because life is very short. And I think that's the big win in the end. Are you happy? I think everybody has a desire to do something in their life, to live a purpose. And if they listen to that desire in their heart, as the gentleman said, you can't go wrong. You absolutely can't go wrong. You're a winner in my book.
David Nagel, thank you so much for that. Nicholas Schmidl and Per Wimmer, thank you all very much for your contributions to The Nexus. And on that positive note, we have to leave it. Thank you for watching on your phones and at home. If you want to see this episode or any of our other episodes, do check out our channel on YouTube. Just type in Nexus TRT World. Till next week then, goodbye.